Hey everyone, this is Scott with the Critical Laughter Podcast Level 1. And today we are going to be finding our characters, finding our inner selves. I am joined with my co-conspirators.
I'm Grant.
And I'm Craig.
Don't you love how every time I do that I just come up with something completely random and throw you guys off?
And for those who are listening, this may be our numerous attempt. We keep having technical difficulties as far as recording goes. So,
Episode 1, attempt 687.
not telling him that. So, yeah. We interrupted this guy.
Okay. So this is a RPG tabletop podcast thing, and we're just gonna be doing something a little bit different than the norm. We are gonna be doing a session, a RPG game. However, none of us wanted to be the GM, so we decided that we're gonna have no GM. We've made up a few rules as to how the encounters and stuff are going to work, and
it's going to be a learning experience.
It'll be interesting.
So that's half the reason we're making this, so other people can learn about it if they want to try this same GM-less experience.
GM-less.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in this first episode, we're going to be going over our characters. We've already kind of decided on what we're doing, but we're also going to be doing some rolls to figure out our abilities, and we'll also be going over what we're all doing. So So Grant, why don't you start with what you are doing?
All right. Well, so I guess first off, since there's only 3 of us, we're each taking on multiple roles in the party. So I'm going to be
The crescent rolls.
Cinnamon, thank you. No, I'm going to be a cleric, but I'm also going to be focused on.
I don't want to be orange rolls. I'm actually sitting here thinking, Grant's talking. I'm sitting here thinking, what kind of role would I be?
That's why I said that.
A critical role.
Oh!
Come on, guys. We're not doing a baking podcast. Anyway, I am an armored, beefy cleric. So I'm going to be focusing on strength, probably more than wisdom, so that since most of my spells are going to be to buff my own punching and kicking abilities. And
by the way, what's your cleric's name?
We decided he's Carl, because he's a combat cleric.
Carl, that kills people.
Combat Carl. And he currently has the title...
Carl.
Exactly. He currently has the title, the Armored Meat Sack. I don't know where that came... I mean, Craig said it earlier, so we're going to have to...
No, I did not say that. That was Scott.
That was Scott? Wasn't he?
Yes, that was you. That was totally you.
Somebody said...
We have a recording of this.
I see a lot of
I'm not
things.
listening to the recording right now. Anyway, somebody said Armored Meat Sack, and I decided that's going to be his official title. How he gets it, I don't know yet, but I'm going to. So yes, I will be focusing on... Actually, I'll be focusing on Constitution to have a lot of hit points, high strength to hit things really hard, and then Wisdom for spellcasting and everything else. Doesn't matter a whole lot. I'll probably want some decent charisma, but that's the focus, is to hit things really hard.
That's always a good focus.
So, should we have Grant roll his stats right now so we can hear
Do we want to each do it individually, or do you want to go over everyone's character first?
I guess Grant could start rolling his numbers, and I guess one of us could talk about ours. That way, you just hear.
Well, you can do that anyways.
Yeah.
Just,
Scott.
So, just so the listeners know, Scott has a bag of, what?
It's like a pound of dice.
A pound of dice, and he just threw a very good, gracious handful of D20s at me.
Wow. What were the chances of that? Most of those were D20s.
So, yeah, do you want to do that? And I guess one of us could take the helm.
So, just so I make sure we're all on the same page, we're rolling 4 dice, dropping the lowest of the 4.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
And we allow re-rolls, but you have to forget about your previous rolls prior.
Okay.
Don't you?
Alright, Scott, should I go next?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go on.
I am playing a wizard named Tosh Silverstream, couldn't read that last little part on my character sheet. I am a elf wizard. Basically, I'm playing kind of simple stats. I'm taking a non-combatant approach, though, to my wizard, focusing more on a role-playing type aspect. Basically trying to keep this wizard simple, because as most of you, or maybe not most of you know, wizards are really complicated, and level 1 wizards suck. For example, you get 2d6 times 10 gold for your starting gold, which means you average about 70 gold, whereas a ranger, in Scott's case, gets like 5d10 times 10. I'm kind of jealous.
Where in the book was that again?
That was in that was in front of the equipment chapter.
It also lists it at the listing for each class.
Yeah. Well, it's only listing for each class in the app. In the book, it's not.
Oh, really?
Scott, you're looking at page 140 in the Pathfinder core rulebook.
Okay.
All right. So basically, we're just kind of playing with a new style. I guess one thing about mine is I'm not a combat focused character. Am I forgetting anything?
I think you've pretty much covered it. However, one thing we did neglect to go over is that all of us aren't playing your standard characters. I guess. I mean, we all said
archetypes.
There you go. We all said early on that we were going to do we were each going to have a quirk. And so Grant's quirk was that
he insult people.
He's very, very salty, like McDonald's fries salty. So his thing is that he's a cleric, except he's fighting. Clerics don't normally fight. For those of you who don't know,
well, I guess there's two types of clerics. There's the black cleric and the white cleric. So Grant's going more of a black cleric style.
Whoa, now. Let's not get racist here.
No, it's kind of a little bit of a reference to old school video games. There's black healers and white healers. Mm-hmm. They both do different roles.
Yeah, but yeah, you're I mean, normally when you think of a cleric, it's the healer of the group, and so it's a very interesting quirk that he's going more towards the fighting rather than the healing.
So I still can heal, just to clarify. It's just not going to be anywhere near his focus.
Right.
He's going to be focused on hitting things before they get a chance to hit us.
And then Craig, what was your quirk again?
My quirk is I'm not really fighting. I'm taking a different approach. I guess one thing I did neglect to mention is I'm playing a wizard of the illusion school. I purposely picked my prohibited schools to be necromancy and conjuration, which are two of the larger focused combat. So, I still have a couple combat access schools in Magic available, but you only need to do 4.
It's 5.
Oh, for your gold. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got distracted.
I'm going off on tangents. Keep going.
Yeah, you're fine. So basically, I won't be able to combat cast effectively, but this kind of goes back to, this is a role-playing game, not a combat game. If you want to play a combat game, I suggest Skyrim or Fallout or something else, on the video game genre, because the whole point here is to be social and have fun.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's one of the things I like the most is, the social aspect. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it is fun creating these characters and, how, I've explained it to people as, adult imagination games. Because, like when you're a kid, you played those imagination games where you just, made up stuff and you just, went off on it. But usually as an adult, you don't do this. But, it's this, you have to use a lot of imagination in this game. You have to, the GM usually makes up the story. We're going to be relying a lot more on imaginations this time around because we don't have a GM.
Yeah.
But it's you make up a lot of fun. You make up stuff. You get to play different characters. It's a lot of fun. And I really enjoy that aspect of it.
Well, yeah, and one funny thing is people will make fun of us for playing D&D, and then I ask, well, do you do your fantasy basketball team or fantasy football teams? And they're like, oh yeah, I do it every year. And I'm like, well, that's what D&D is for us. We play this because we're not inclined to sports. We rather do something that's more interesting to us. So we're just Grant's getting his number crunching
I
down.
got all my numbers.
Yeah.
They're pretty decent, actually.
I might do a reroll.
So bit of
I did.
bit of
At
a
first-
tangent. I didn't realize how little gold you start with.
Oh, it's awful.
Hey, wizards! Look at
No, I feel worse for you now that I see how kind of gold I have.
yeah. Honestly, if you're going to start a campaign, GMs who are listening to this, please be nice to your wizards. Don't charge them for the spellbook. I think the spellbook alone is like 100 gold pieces,
Jeez, that's like
and so
everything.
I've just assumed
You
the
can't even get that. Like,
spellbook is free, and then according to the Pathfinder rules, if you do the bonded item track, you also get the bonded item for free. Do you need one? I've got an extra.
and always have enough pencils for everyone.
No, I always have enough pencils for everyone.
Oh, you had
No,
more. I
no.
didn't know if you had more. I
I
didn't want to steal your pencil.
I had 2 pencils, but then one of them ran out of lead.
Yeah.
So yeah, to give you some context, I just rolled my starting gold and I only got 130 gold pieces.
Only 130. Guess what I got on
How
my
much did
starting
you get? Did you get like
60.
60?
I got 60.
Can you even buy anything for that?
I can buy lots of clubs and lots of paper.
Oh my goodness.
Dang it, these stats suck.
Anyways,
This is always the most nerve-wracking part, because it's like, these stats stick... I mean, you can adjust your stats a little
Okay,
bit.
what was your high stat on your first set of rolls?
I only rolled 2, and they were both below 10, and I was like, there's no way I'm keeping
Yeah.
these.
So I just rolled and I got a 13, 15, 15, 9, 11, 11, which is terrible.
Yeah.
so
Like, it's okay, but that 9's going
Well-
to kill me as a wizard.
Yeah.
That 9's going to kill me.
yeah, I mean, this is really nerve-wracking because the stats stick with you pretty much the rest of the game. You can change them sort of, like with items and leveling up, but these base stats are pretty much what makes your character
Sorry, guys.
Way to go.
so unprofessional.
Sorry, I left my phone on priority, and that was a priority, apparently. Won't happen again, I'm sorry. That was...
No, watch, it'll happen to one of us. This is a pretty casual podcast.
that.
But anyways,
Just that roll alone is going to make me...
so while they're going, I'm gonna explain mine. So I'm going to be the ranger of the group, which you know, there's 2 main types. But most people, when they think of ranger, they think, oh, range, you know, like long range stuff, and that is one of the types you can go for. I never really liked it because I'm not a fan of ranged weaponry, just because I feel like you have less control, because you can't always guarantee you're going to be far enough away to actually, you know, use your range effectively. And so I'm going to be going for a 2-weapon fighting, which you can do, but it's not. I feel like it's not as normal. But my main quirk is that I'm like a hippie. I don't like. I don't want to hurt the. I don't want to hurt the animals, man. We just gotta be friends with all of our animal friends, man. So yeah, well, I'm not. So I'm not going to be hurting any animals, which will be extremely difficult considering there's a lot of creatures that are animals. So
Especially first level.
that'll be interesting.
90% of our encounters at first level are
So-
probably be animal-based.
So the one of the main fighters of the group is not going to do anything. So that'll be interesting. We'll probably die a lot.
Especially with the rolls I keep getting.
So before I start rolling, so we're not just all like hunkered down, like not talking while we're rolling.
Oh, I'm done. I haven't...
So since you're done, Craig, why don't you explain to everyone how to do the rolls and like kind of what we're doing so that they know. So people that aren't familiar.
Do you want me to
with
talk
what
about
they're
the
doing.
alternative methods or just the roll method?
Just do the one we're doing for now.
Okay.
We'll see if we want to change it up.
So, yeah, like Scott said, we're doing rolls. And classically, the rolls are going to come from D6 or a 6-sided dice. You hear us say D and then a number. That's how many sided of a dice it is. You don't
The
know
D
that.
stands for die.
So we take 4 of the 6-sided dice. We roll them all, and then you take the top 3 values, and you're going to add them together. So in this case, I just did a fake roll, and I got...
If you want, I can do my roll right now. We can use that as an
Let's do
example.
your roll. Your rolls are going to be more interesting than fake rolls.
So I've got 4 D6 of varying colors,
Yep.
and I rolled a 4, 6, a 4, and a 1.
So in that case, Scott would throw out the value of the 1. We're not going to add that value. We're going to add up the other 3 values, which were what?
We have 2 4s, so that's 8 and a 6.
So that should put us at 14, which is a pretty good stat. The score would be a 14, and its modifier, you would to get the modifier, you take that value, subtract 10, and then divide by 2, and then round down, and that should get you your modifier, which in this case would be a +2.
So one of mine is going to be a 14, and
Yep.
then we just do that for the rest of the stats.
Yeah.
Correct?
And this is generally the most standard method for getting your stats. The exception for this would be the point system, and there's a couple other ones. You rolled 5 there, or was that?
Was I supposed to do only do 4?
Yeah, we'll take out that one.
That's fine.
Keep the rest of them.
That was a terrible roll.
That was a terrible roll. 5.
6, 8.
Yeah.
Gosh.
So that 8's gonna hurt you. You may want to do a re-roll. It depends on the rest of the stats. If you get if you do the roll method and you get one really bad roll, but you get really good rolls on the others, keep it. You'd rather have one crappy stat than sacrifice a lot of good stats, especially.
Well, and especially because I've noticed to really shine in Pathfinder, you kind of almost have to specialize. Like, it's hard to become good at everything.
Unless if you're the bard.
Well,
That's your job as a bard, is to be good at everything.
Your job as a bard to be above average at everything.
Yeah, because bards get the most skill points, they have the most well-rounded magic, they have kind of the most well-rounded stats.
Yeah, decent fighting skills. But so, generally you can do better if you choose to specialize in something.
Yeah.
Which is exactly kind of what we're not doing in this campaign.
Yeah, that's an 11. But no, honestly, like, remember the wizard I made for one of your campaigns? We did the point system, and I min-maxed so bad. Like, I had a natural intelligence without item boost at like 20.
Yeah.
My strength was a 7, and I purposely killed my strength just so I could be really good at the things I needed to be good at, because I couldn't sacrifice all my other stats.
Yeah, I think I might have
I'm not going to fight near anyone, so I'll just hide in the back and be really squishy. Because, yeah.
I think I might reroll.
Yeah. If the highest stat you only got was a 15, and you got 2
I got
below 10.
2 really low stats.
Yeah.
So, just so everyone knows, I just rolled a 14 and 8, 15, 11, and 7 and 11. Which the 15 and the 14 aren't bad, and the 11s are kind of...
They're
middle.
average.
They're average, but the 8 and the 7 are so low that I don't even know if I could make that work.
No, not with a ranger, especially if
Yeah.
Because for a ranger, you need decent strength, dexterity.
Well, plus, that's not even adding in my different bonuses and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're an elf. You're going to get penalized on Constitution.
Yeah, I mean, even with the bonuses, I still have one that's 9, so yeah, that's not even worth it.
Also, another interesting thing, so also to put in perspective,
So I'm rolling again.
as a character, normal, everyday, non-player characters in this world are going to have average stats of 10. So they're going to have 10 as strength, 10 as dexterity, 10 as constitution, 10 as intelligence, 10 as wisdom, 10 as charisma. And those stats right there are average. So if you get below average on more than 2 of your areas, you're basically kind of
Below average.
You're below average to the population. In fact, just had a crazy thought. Let me see if I can pull it up. But so yeah, that's why we do the rerolls, and you know, it's all designed on preference. You could technically keep rerolling over and over and over again until you got the perfect stats.
Yeah.
But the chances that happen.
It's also not as fun, though.
No, it's not as fun.
It's good to have some weakness.
Yeah, but too much weakness, though, makes the game unbearable. I remember my very first character in a Star Wars campaign. My character just sucked. His stats were perfectly average. They didn't tell me this, and so I just had really bad stats, really bad everything. So I was perfectly well-rounded character, but that's the problem. I was well-rounded. So.
Speaking of well-rounded,
Are you... Hey, you're at least getting above. Those are not bad stats, Scott.
no, I just think it's funny. I literally almost every single one's exactly the same.
Well,
I got this time. I mean, they're way better than last time.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. It's at 9, 14, 14, 14, 12, 15.
Yeah.
Wow, that.
But that's a high average, though.
No, it's good. I just thought it was funny. You're like, I have an average character. I'm like, well, I just averaged 14 out of that. But okay, so yeah, that's
Also,
those are my stats. I'm gonna decide where to put them in just a second. So I got a 9, a 14, a 14, a 14, a 12, and a 15. So while I'm working on assigning them, have you already assigned all of your stats?
I did.
So why don't you go over that while I'm figuring out what I want to do?
Do you mind if I interject something? I just remembered a meme I saw a long time ago, and I just found it. So D&D stats explained with tomatoes. Have you guys seen this?
Oh, I've seen that.
It's one of my favorite memes. So strength is being able to crush a tomato. Dexterity is being able to dodge a tomato. Constitution is being able to eat a bad tomato. Intelligence is knowing that tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing not to put a tomato in a fruit salad. Charisma is being able to sell a tomato-based fruit salad. And then the comments below that also help explain charisma a little bit more. A tomato-based fruit salad would simply be salsa. Guys, I found the bar. But in all necessity, if those are basically the general rules of thumb. So if you get confused by our strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma talk, that's what we mean. Mm-hmm. Just use the tomato to help you guys figure that out.
Use the tomato.
I like the tomatoes.
Okay, so to talk about my stats, I rolled a 13, 17, 14, 16, 11, and a 10. And so...
Those aren't bad stats.
Those are pretty good stats.
Wait, what were they again?
13, 17, 14, 16, 11, 10.
Dang, you have some high ones.
Yeah, the 17
I feel like
and the
I've
16.
rolled this exact set of stats before.
You probably have.
So I feel like it's really good that I got 16 and a 17. Those are pretty high. And then the 14 is a nice even one. And the 13, 11, and 10 are just average. They're fine. So I assign, since I am a human, I get to add 2 to any stat I choose. So I added that to my constitution because I want as many hit points as humanly possible. So my final stats ended up being strength 17, dexterity 10, constitution 18, intelligence 11, wisdom 14, charisma 13. And so this is where I'm really kind of breaking the norm, because normally a cleric would have higher wisdom and you'd probably want it to be your highest stat. But I'm choosing not to focus on that because most of my spells will be cast on myself, so I won't have to overcome any resistance or anything. So I don't need something as powerful. And I figure once I get to the level where I need a higher wisdom to do anything, I'm going to have boosts to that already. And so right now, I'm just trying to decide on which items I'm going to buy. I already got my armor, and now I just need to figure out what weapon I want to use.
So, I was kind of in and out. I was helping Scott with the question. So, ultimately, what was your high stat again? Just to clarify.
My highest stat is my constitution at 18.
So, I guess that would help with your hit points, but what other goals besides just your hit points are you looking to... You get what I'm trying to ask? You're trying.
Yeah, I guess so. So my main focus on this guy is... His main number one focus is to keep people hitting him instead of his teammates. And to do that, he's going to be insulting and aggravating towards the opponent. And so my secondary goal is to have a high strength so that I can hopefully kill them before they kill me.
Oh, that's fair. And then your wisdom's your third stat.
Yeah, wisdom is third. And again, that's not really normal.
That's not normal. And what was the score again on the wisdom?
14.
14. So you at least have a +2 modifier, which
Yeah,
means...
that's a decent.
As far as a healer, 14 is not a terrible score for a healer.
Yeah.
It would be like... If it was below 10, we'd be in trouble.
Yeah. But yeah, if my primary goal was to be spellcasting, especially spellcasting on opponents, then I definitely need it higher. But...
Yeah. And the reason for that, and that's the same thing with the wizard. So my main stat is a wizard is intelligence. And so...
That's probably boosted as high as you can get it, right?
Oh, it's... The only way I could have gotten it higher was rolling 3 6s. So. But the whole goal of this entire setup is, as a spellcaster, you have one main stat, and that stat is everything for your spells. That's like your spell save, for how difficult people can overcome your spells, for everything that it literally. If you're going to be a spellcaster, you got to make sure you keep track of that stat. If you're not, like in the case of Grant, then you can kind of put that stat back on the back burner a little bit, and it's a lot safer for you.
Did you guys already go over the stat differences for the different races?
No, actually, because...
because we told you, like, for example, a good example is you told your rolls, right, Grant?
Yeah.
Yeah, so and then if you notice, some of his stats are going to be a little bit different because each race has different modifiers.
Yeah, so
like you can add it'll sometimes it'll add a little bit to your intelligence, but you'll lose some charisma and stuff like that. So what you're doing a human, correct?
Yeah, I'm a human, so I get to add 2 to any any of my stats, so that's why I had rolled a 16, but I added 2 to it to be the 18 for my Constitution.
Okay. And then what? And then did you already factor those in, correct?
Yeah, so I did. So my stats, I guess, going down from... So my strength is at 7. Dexterity is 18. Constitution is 12. Intelligence is 18. Wisdom is 13. And Charisma is 11. And so, basically, like I was mentioning with Grant, about the magic, I stacked my intelligence. Now, some people might say, well, why didn't you stack your wisdom? Because wisdoms is also very important for spellcasters, because that's how we fight each other. Is wisdom's our weak point. If you don't have a strong wisdom, then other spellcasters can get through your defenses easier. The reason why I didn't is because, as a wizard, I have the least amount of hit points in our party, and I know that. So dexterity is going to help me avoid more hits. So that additional boost in dexterity is going to help. Mm-hmm. I'll also be a ranged fighter, so I don't want to.
Right.
Yeah, which is why my strength is a 7. Cause
because you're not. I'm
not planning on being next to anything.
Right.
As far away as possible.
In fact, if not, all in intending during the combat would be great.
We'll have to see how combat works out.
Yeah.
So my stats, I already said what my numbers were, but I'm doing an elf as well. And so I get a bonus to my dexterity and my intelligence, but I get a hit to my constitution. And so I had to focus more on the strength and dexterity, and then I also kind of like having a high constitution because no one likes low hit points.
Yeah.
But then my intelligence, wisdom, and I did my charisma a little bit higher up because I want to do. I'm probably gonna be doing a lot of handle animal checks because that's who my character was. So I also chose that as one of my higher stats. And then my intelligence, wisdom, I did my lower ones.
Remind me later after this podcast is over. I'll tell you how the handled animal skill is broken. That is the most broken skill in this entire game. I've never been able to abuse it yet, but I can tell you how to do it.
Ooh, sounds like we're gonna get some abusing this.
Yeah, I do lots of rule fact checking, and there's something about the handle animal skill check that no one's done yet, and I think that'd be kind of fun to try out. Mm-hmm. And it actually might help this guy out a lot more on combat.
Okay, yeah, we'll definitely take a look at that. So what my stats ended up being is I put one of my 14s in my strength. Originally, I was going to put the 15 in there because that was the highest, but my constitution is -2, so I didn't want to put a lower one in and take a huge hit to my hit points. So I ended up settling with the 14 because the 15 doesn't really help me. It doesn't give me any extra strength, but it'll be nice because when I can add to my constitution, I'll be able to get more hit points a lot easier. So I did 14 on my strength. Then on my dexterity, I put a 14 in, which I add 2, so I end up with 16. So that'll make me very agile. Then my constitution, I put the 15 in, which brought me down to 13. With the -2 I take to that. And then my intelligence, I stuck in the 9, which I got an add 2. I got +2 to, so that brought me to an 11. My 12 I put in the wisdom, and the other 14 I put in the charisma. So all in all, it's pretty even average stats. As I feel like it was I rounded them out pretty well. So I'm not like super low in anything, but I'm not like uber high in anything either. So I think that I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, honestly, I'm kind of jealous of your stats. I know you got the one below 10, but honestly, I trade anybody. My 7 score is going to come back to bite me, in a really bad way.
Yeah, I mean, I lucked out because I was able to put it in my intelligence, which I'm not going to really need that much anyways, and I had the +2, so I was able to kind of even it out a little bit.
Yeah, and honestly, I thought about maybe making my charisma the 7 score, but it would just kind of end up badly for us.
Yeah.
Because, especially when I'm doing roleplay. Yeah, so Grant's over there kind of just scrolling through the inventory list as fast as he can.
Yeah.
So are you buying things right now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, we're getting pretty close to when we want to wrap up. We don't want to make these too long. We don't want you to like listen to us blather on about all these things. So I think we're gonna probably work on wrapping this up, and then we'll come back next time. We'll probably finish off some of the stuff like maybe buying what we're buying, and then we might even possibly go into the first session. We'll probably cross that bridge when we get there. But yeah, I think. Is there anything else you guys want to add in before we wrap up?
No, just eventually we are going to get some social media sites. We definitely want you guys to go check those out. We'll have a website, and get involved. Let us know what you guys like about this podcast. What should we do differently? Give us some feedback, and we'll definitely improve upon it.
Yeah, we already have a Twitter account. It's at Critical Laughter,
and we will have an Instagram account. We're just kind of waiting close to our launch date.
Yeah. So we do have a Twitter right now. You can follow us at Critical Laughter. But we'll be adding to that list soon, and it'll hopefully be Critical Laughter all across the board. But we'll see how that works out.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think that is going to wrap it up. So I've been Scott.
I'm Grant.
And I'm Craig.
And we hope to see you all next time.